Hey there! Welcome to the Influential Christian Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Francine Sinclair. I've been around the block in the entrepreneurial world, creating and repurposing social media content for experts and CEOs. I know firsthand how it can feel lonely, especially when you're mixing your Christian faith into your business life. So I figured, why should we go it alone? Who said that faith and business can't mix? And that's where this podcast comes in. Join me as we meet influential Christian entrepreneurs who are showing us how to blend business and faith in a way that works. We're here to prove that you can express your faith without compromising your business success. On the Influential Christian Entrepreneur, you're not just listening, you're part of the gang. So let's start this journey together. Welcome to the Influential Christian Entrepreneur Podcast, where we uncover the inspiring stories and strategies of successful Christian entrepreneurs. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of interviewing Jared Miller, who has been passionately singing, writing songs, and leading worship for over 27 years. Born in Houston, Texas, Jared has been involved in the music field all of his life, singing at conferences since the age of 8. He has written and co-produced 10 records ranging from rock bands to solo and church worship projects. He has played with the likes of Jars of Clay, DC Talk, Skillet, Ricardo Sanchez, and Micah Tyler. Jared is also very passionate about leadership and personal development. He is a certified speaker, trainer, and coach by the Maxwell Leadership Group, right? By Maxwell Leadership and the Sam Chand Leadership Institute. He speaks and teaches at churches, conferences, workshops, and seminars all over the world, from America to Egypt to Nigeria to Panama. As an author, Jared has written 2 books, including his bestseller, Truth, The Lies We've Been Told. He has a passion to pour his life into like-minded servant leaders who are ready to connect and collaborate in their creative calling and mission in life. Thank you for being here. Welcome, Jared. How are you?
Thank you so much. This is going to be so much fun. I'm excited to be with you today.
Oh, one thing that I love about doing this podcast is people that I think I know, then I read their bios and I'm like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know you did workshops and seminars all over the world. I didn't know you were singing since you were 8. So many things. I knew you were a singer and you have an amazing voice. I still have that single that you created for your book. Do you remember that last year? I didn't know any of this stuff. So tell me a little bit about what are you doing right now? So are you a coach or what is your main thing right now?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked me that. So I do many things, but it's all under the umbrella of communication. Mm-hmm. I've been singing my whole life, writing songs for most of my life, speaker, author, coach, as you mentioned earlier, Maxwell Leadership, Sam Chand Leadership Institute. So all those things are about communication, visually, audibly, so on and so forth. But what I'm really excited about right now, what I'm most excited about, is all of those things have led me to what I'm doing now, and it actually launches this month, and it's called Servant Leadership Creative.
Servant leadership. So this month, September, because by the time this airs, it'll be November. So you're launching this month. It's Servant Leader Creative. What is that?
Servant Leadership Creative. So this is what it all comes down to. I'm a huge proponent and believer. It sounds so simple, but it's very neglected in society. Everyone needs someone who they're pouring their life into, and everyone needs someone who's pouring their life into them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So whether it's business or marriage or your kids or ministry or any kind of relationships that you have, what you see is proactive leaders who are passionate about their gifting and their calling. They're pouring into a lot of people, but who's pouring into them?
Who's pouring into them? Right.
Who is encouraging the encourager?
Usually nobody.
Right. And so there's this silent, invisible expectation that, well, if you're a leader and you're an adult, you should be able to feed yourself. You should be able to nurture yourself. That's true to a certain degree, but we all have a need for human connection. We should be a river, not a reservoir.
Right.
And we need everyone to be pouring into us as much as we're pouring into someone else. That way there's no burnout. It eliminates cynicism and being jaded. And you're able to pour from a pure cup, not a dirty water. And so
Nothing.
pour into people who are pouring into us. And so that's where this came from. So the creative side is, as a musician, as an artist, as an author, we're all creatives because we all have breath in our lungs. And we all should be servant leaders. So my niche, so to speak, are people who are on the stage, off the stage, and behind the scenes on all levels of church ministry and business.
So those are the people that the servant leader creative is for, correct?
Correct. We are doing Zoom meetings every Monday night, and we're giving a customized, personalized touch. We encourage our community when we evaluate. What are your wins? What are your challenges? What are your lessons that you've learned? How can we help you on a personal level? All communities everybody needs a community. Everyone needs a coach, right? Jordan had a coach. You and I need a coach, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So everyone needs that. But what we're missing is a customized, personalized touch.
Yes.
As communities get bigger, how do you solve that problem? You create more leaders.
Correct.
And so that's our pursuit, and that's our passion.
And so are you doing this alone, or are you teaming up with someone to create this community and serve?
Core team that's with me right now for Servant Leadership Creative. In fact, today is September the 6th. We launch on Monday, September the 11th. And it's amazing how when you lead from questions versus leading from instructions, the return that you get. So like when I lead with instruction, I tell you what you can do. When I lead with questions, I discover what you can do.
Yes.
Right. In fact, questions are so important that oftentimes Jesus would answer a question with a question. And that's one of the biggest takeaways that I learned from Maxwell Leadership is that when you come to me with a problem and I give you the answer, I'm actually enabling you because I took away your power to think for yourself.
Yeah.
But if I ask you strategic questions and then you land and arrive on the answer that I would have told you, but you land there yourself, now you're empowered. And now you thought for yourself, and now you're going to take ownership of that answer.
And so you will be serving people who are actively involved in ministry on the stage. I'm thinking, because you said on the stage, off the stage, I'm visualizing, and forgive me because I'm a little bit new to this, but is it people who are like the singers at churches, or?
We're talking singers, we're talking musicians, we're talking audio technicians, people who do lights, people who do media, ushers, greeters, children's workers, young adult workers, college age workers. I call them the more experienced group, the older, some people call them the XYZers. But anyone who's involved in any level of leadership, both personally and professionally, we want to be able to help them think, expand, empower them to go to a next level. Because again, leaders and volunteers are pouring into people, but who's pouring into them?
Who's pouring into them? And so you're launching on September 11th. This is going to be a group. Is there going to be a certain length of time that this is is it evergreen? Is it going to go on forever? How's it going to work?
So part of me I'm still writing songs. I'm still writing books. I'm still ministering. I'm still speaking. I'm still singing. That's never going to stop. But this right here, this is going to last me for the rest of my life. It's an online community because people will never stop having a need to be pouring into.
Got it.
Always going to have that need.
And based on your experience, you've been doing that for over 27 years. So you are extremely familiar with the needs and the pain points of these people, because that's what you've been doing for most of your life. So nobody better positioned to pour into those people than you.
Well, it all started from a need that I had for myself. And so you have two choices. You can get bitter or you can get better.
Yeah, those are the only choices. There's no way back, right? And so you've been singing at church since 8. Have you always been a Christian?
So the running joke in my family is that my mom gave birth on the altar. So I have been in church my entire life. In simple terms, the Lord got a hold of my heart at a very young age.
Hmm.
I had the understanding of, hey, I want to give my life to the Lord. What I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling is very real. And even though at 6 and 7 years old, I didn't fully understand it, but I still
Hmm.
experienced it. And I think it's important for listeners and the audience to understand, just because you can't understand the fullness of God doesn't mean you can't experience the fullness of God.
Right. Because we can never wrap our heads around it.
Right. And so I
And
knew,
that's part of the reason why people don't come to God, because they're like, if I can't understand it, I can't commit to that.
right. And if you could fully understand it, it wouldn't take faith.
Exactly. It wouldn't take faith, because then for sure.
Right. So at a very young age, the Lord got a hold of my heart, and I served him and served in our local church. My dad was involved in leadership and ministry. My mom, they sang in the choir, they taught Sunday school, all those things. In my teenage years, there was a few years where I slightly drifted. And then about 17, 18 years old, I had a crossroads. And then once again, the Lord just wrecked my heart and just really got a hold of me. It was so undeniable. In a church service that I was attending, I felt the presence of God, and it was so undeniable, Francine, like what I was encountering, what I was experiencing, that it was like my insides were going to explode. For those who are familiar with the terminology, the Bible also describes God as a consuming fire. There's a fire that burns you, and there's a fire that heals you.
Hmm.
And that fire on the inside, it was quenching everything in me that wasn't supposed to be there. And it was just so undeniable that God was real, and he was loving me and moving in my heart. And that was another crossroads where I was like, you know what? This is how I've been raised my whole life. But no, this encounter is for me.
Right. And that encounters for you because you were meant to do things from an early age. What would we say to people who never actually, I've never had like a earth shattering encounter like the one you describe and other people have described, where it's undeniable, right? Where it's undeniable, because the few things that have happened to me, I could still deny it. I could still think, maybe that was my imagination. Like, did I see that? I don't know. So, why do you think some people have those experiences? And I used to be a little offended, because I'm like, well, so why does God choose? God has favorites, because, I've only been a Christian for 3 years, so it wasn't too long ago. It was like, God has favorites because these people, this guy over here talking about, he had an experience with God, like the one you described. It's never happened to me. Why does it happen to others and not me? Can you explain the way you can explain it, of course?
Sure. I had a counselor tell me one time. I came to him and I was asking, well, why God this and why God that? He said, Jared, I want to encourage you, turn your why into a what. Instead of saying, why God this, why God that, say, what God, what do you have for me? What is next? And so I think our best example is Jesus. When he was on the cross, I'm sure he didn't have a feeling of, man, I really just don't want to do this right now. It was a decision that he made. So
Mhm.
yes, some people have a quote unquote lightning experience or earth shattering experience. Other people are just like, you know what? I'm walking by faith, and I'm making a decision every day to walk my faith out to the best of my ability. And I'm choosing to follow Jesus and his teachings and his ways for the rest of my life. And so I believe that's, in a sense, that's more God honoring than just following him because you had an experience. That takes more faith.
Right. It takes more faith, for sure. It would make it a whole lot easier though. You know what I'm saying? When you have that undeniability, there's nothing. But then, of course, we can only, wonder how God works, because he does things the way he does them for a reason.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
so good.
And it does require faith. So the premise behind the podcast is we've always been told to never mix faith and business, because it's not appropriate in the marketplace to talk about, our faith, especially what I'm finding is especially for Christians, because I have noticed that it's okay if you're any other religion or any other whatever. But when you talk about Jesus, boy, you should not talk about that in the marketplace and business because it makes you look crazy. It makes you look unprofessional. You're probably not that smart and it's offensive. So we've all been told, keep that at home. Keep that at home. Don't bring that here. What's your opinion about that?
Yeah. So John Maxwell was being interviewed at a university, and they asked him, what do you think about business ethics? And he said, there's no such thing. So what do you mean? He goes, well, there's not business ethics. There's just ethics. Either you have them or you don't. So I love the statement, don't tell me, show me. The Bible in simple terms says that our life is a book being read of all people.
Mm-hmm.
So the greatest value in life is not what you get. The greatest value in life is what you become. And so as you're becoming more and more Christ-like, instead of shouting it from the mountaintops, what if your values and your character and your integrity and your love, watch this, and your joy and your peace were screaming so loud through your life, no one heard what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone says, well, if you're a Christian, you can't work in this business. Well, you can't deny who you are, but you can use wisdom, and your character and your integrity can speak for you. And you can be so excellent at what you do. Like in Daniel had an excellent spirit that it elevated him to second in command. And so I think you can be so good at what you do, they can't deny you. That even if, he's a Christian. Okay, he's a Christian, but he's our number one sales rep.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And God's favor can be on your life. It's amazing what God's favor and a strong work ethic can do.
Absolutely.
Right? Faith and works together make a powerful combination for anyone in the workforce.
So you can't deny what you are. That's true. And I think that a lot of Christians are just not wanting to maybe be confronted by people, or maybe they think they're going to lose business and turn people off. So how do you, as a Christian, how do you incorporate your faith into your business? You do a lot of ministry, but when you're in the business world, is it abundantly clear that you're a Christian? Do you make that, because everybody has a different style?
Okay.
What's your style?
I'm a really confident, strong believer that like who you are is felt when you walk into the room. Right? So like, here's another way of saying it. We've all heard that people feel your energy before you walk into a room. Have you ever been into a room and it felt dark?
Yeah, felt funny. Yes.
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
went to a room and it felt like, man, this room, I feel like there's anger in this room, or there's a lot of stress in this room, or man, I'm like laughing hysterically. There's so much joy in this room. What is going on? Or you walk into an atmosphere, room, wherever, and it's like, it just feels so peaceful. I think those are the things that have to stand out, that build your credibility as a Christian, as a believer in any environment that you walk in. The environment can influence you, or you can influence the environment. And again, how do we become effective in that as believers and Christians? It's not by what we say, it's by who we are. Now, I'm going to make a statement that sounds kind of, but it really is true. We're not humans having a spiritual experience. We're spirits having a human experience.
Right. I've heard that one.
And we focus on the outside, the color of our skin, the color of our hair, the color of our eyes, our outside personality. What am I wearing? How do I smell? How do I come across? But really, who we really are is unseen.
Is unseen. Right. Is unseen. I'm thinking about that specifically in the case of social media, because do you attract your clients on social media?
Yeah, it's amazing how like 98% of my posts are inspirational and encouraging. And then like once every 6 months, I'll post something really controversial, and people who never speak to you come out woodworks. Oh, how's it going? I haven't seen you forever. How are you? This comes with the territory,
That comes with the territory. So, but you said something there that, what did you say before that? It doesn't come across, right? So how do you do it? Like, because you use maybe social media for business, because you're an online entrepreneur, do you make it abundantly clear in the whatever you post that you're a Christian, or do you not? In your case, your audience would be Christians. So then in your case, it would be completely appropriate, right? To post about Jesus, to post about your faith. But what a lot of Christians have a problem with is when their ideal client is not necessarily a Christian. It could be, anybody. To what degree is it okay to express your faith or how should they do it? Do you have any? Yeah.
No, this is awesome. So let me give you a formula that I've seen work time and time again. So it's no question that we live in a world where trust is very low.
Mm-hmm.
People are very suspicious of the term Christian.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So why would they ever hear a word that we say if we haven't built rapport, if we haven't built trust? And so what happens is, and that takes time. Someone could have been hurt in the church, could have been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. People are people no matter where you go.
Right.
There's just an expectation that people in the church that shouldn't hurt you, but we're all flawed and we're all in need of a savior. So people are drawn to 3 steps. They're drawn to a community first. Everyone wants to belong. That's why we have different brands and different groups and different communities.
Mm-hmm.
So they're drawn to a community. They're looking for an identity. And from that community, they find Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Once they find Jesus, they live their life for Jesus' mission.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually, by and large, in that order. Some people will find Jesus off the bat. They have a Saul to Paul experience. They have what we talk about, an earth-shattering experience.
Yeah.
Bible. But most people are going to be drawn to a community that's attractive. It's salt and light.
Or a person that's attractive.
Let me give you a quick story. So a very close family friend, owns his own construction company.
Mm-hmm.
He does excellent work. So most of the time, contractors, people who own their own business in construction will build a house for someone, and that's it. One and done. The majority of his clientele and customers have his personal phone number, call him, speak to him, have a relationship with him long after the house has been built and the business has been done. Why is that? Because they're drawn to his spirit. Something in him is attracting them. It could be, man, he's peaceful or he's joyful, or there's something that he has that I don't have, subconscious that they're feeling inside.
Right. And who gives their phone number like that for me to keep bugging him? What?
And they're asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe we have to scream Jesus. I think we need to live Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the biggest difference maker in people's lives. And they're saying, you know what? Thank you for not trying to convert me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for connecting with me.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that's one of the reasons why people are so suspicious about Christian, the word Christian, because it has been misused. Unscrupulous people have used it, or people who've meant well but haven't gone about it in the right way, and so they've kind of given us all a bad name. So that suggestion right there is the way you live, the way you come across, the way you treat people, because actions speak much louder than words, of course, right?
Yeah, it's so true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so tell us, Jared, how can people who are very active in ministry, the people who are on the stage, the singers, musicians, everybody who is managing the lights and the music, how can they contact you? By the time this podcast airs, it'll be November, so it'll be a couple of months since you've launched. But you said that this will be an evergreen thing, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so how would they find you? Can you give us your information that I can also put in the link of the show notes?
Absolutely. So if you're on Instagram, you can go to my personal page at Jared Miller Official, and then also Servant Leadership Creative on Instagram, at SLC. On Facebook, you can reach out to me, Jared Miller, also, and then also via email, servantleadershipcreative@gmail.com.
Servant leadership created. Okay, I'll make sure to put those notes. And if I'm missing any of those, please make sure to send me an email with any of those, all the links that you want me to add so that people don't have a problem finding you. So I want to thank you, Jared, for giving us your insights and how you see things. It's always refreshing to hear, what a committed Christian has to say. And it's so insightful, and it's actually a big relief for so many of our online entrepreneurs out there who are Christians who feel that suddenly they have to go on out there and start writing scripture and talking about Jesus and all the fire and brimstone thing. That's not how it has to be. In fact, that's not how it shouldn't be necessarily, right? Depends on what you're being called to do, but it's more about what you do than what you say. So keep that in mind, guys. And if you are a Christian CEO or executive seeking to authentically integrate your faith and professional brand on LinkedIn to inspire others to further God's kingdom and leave a legacy, let's connect. My website is francineSinclair.com. Or you can email me at hello@francineSinclair.com. I want to thank you all for listening to this podcast episode. Make sure to connect with Jared Miller. Find him on Facebook. Find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. And we will be back next Tuesday with another amazing guest. Take care, everybody. Goodbye. If you're a Christian business leader or executive, I invite you to work with me to create a faith-driven personal brand on LinkedIn that will empower you to navigate the intersection between faith and business. Feel free to contact me directly at hello@francineSinclair.com. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening today. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and don't forget to follow me, Francine Sinclair, on Facebook or LinkedIn. See you next week for a new episode.